How many times have you written on a student's paper, "Please explain this," or "How does this answer the prompt?" I cannot tell you how many times I did that in my first few years of teaching. So in this video, we are going to talk about how to utilize sentence stems to get students to expand their justification, their analysis, their explanation, whatever term it is that you use for when students are explaining their evidence and relating it back to their claim, to their thesis statement, ultimately answering the prompt. So we're going to talk about a very simple, effective way to do this for our students to support them in the way that they clearly need us to, so that they can enhance their justification. Before we dive in though, make sure that you subscribe where you're watching this video for more videos like this one. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my slides. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about how to utilize sentence stems to help students expand their justification and analysis. And with expanding justification, we find that it's really challenging to get students to explain, to go deeper, especially when I first taught before I used this approach to teaching writing. I would always be writing on my students' papers. How does this relate to the premise? How does this answer the prompt? And it was frustrating to be doing that time and time again. All too often, students would resort to simply summarizing the evidence and not really delving into what the evidence truly was showing. They didn't know what to do with it, right? They found maybe a good piece of evidence, but they had no idea how to explain it. And this is where sentence stems are going to come into play. So the importance of using sentence stems is as follows. Number one, it's really going to help eliminate writer's block and make the writing process seem less daunting for our students. We want to be able to set them up for success. Yes, we're going to use sentence stems until they get it, and then we'll take them off. It's like training wheels, right? This is a skill that they're learning. And so to expect them to be able to do this without any sort of support isn't really like the best place to come from, because they might not necessarily have any clue how to do this. Some students get it, sure, but the majority of students really need that extra support. So to have it be less daunting, to build up that confidence for them, that's huge in getting them to see progress forward. We are also able to help make the expectations clearer and set students up for success, because this is what a strong transition into justification looks like, or this is how we're going to start our justification, things like that. We also are able to help students practice using academic language with our sentence stems. This is assuming that we as a teacher include it in the sentence stems ourselves. So I'm going to give you some examples of sentence stems here in a second. And then it's also awesome because it's an effective way to provide differentiation and scaffolding for our students. So let's look at some examples of sentence stems. You might want to write these down, and you can take these and just put them on the board in your classroom the next time students are writing an essay or a short response that requires justification. Okay, so if this is what we want students to do, how and why does the evidence support the thesis or claim of this essay? That's what we're asking them to do with justification, right? So if that's what we're asking them to do, how do we get them to do that? Well, we're going to provide them with something as simple as this evidence shows. Even though that is so basic and you don't want to eventually read that, right? Eventually we want that out of our students' papers, which is fine. We can take that off later. But this is prompting them like, oh yeah, I gotta talk about the evidence, right? I can't just summarize what I wrote. Or here, from this evidence, it can be deduced that. So we're bringing it back to the premise or back to the claim. By using blank, the reader understood, or the author develops the idea about blank in order to show that, or this particular incident reveals, or here the author portrays. You can go ahead and take a screenshot of this page, and I'll stop for a second while you do that, or you can push pause, and then take a screenshot of this page too, because you can project this onto your board as well, right? You can project this question to students. This is what we're doing with justification, right? So those are all of the sentence stems that you can choose from. And like I said, you're eventually going to remove them from students' writing. And this can be as simple as when you get to that stage, they're getting really good at writing, this evidence shows, or one of those examples, you can literally just have them cross it off as they're writing it in their papers when they get further and further down the line. Okay, so it's great to sit and listen, right? Now I want you to do the work and bring this to your students. Thanks so much for joining me in today's video all about expanding students' justification. We hope you found this helpful. Share, subscribe, let us know that you enjoyed it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. All right, we'll see you next time on the YouTube channel.